Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood number 550-605 lever extension flush bolt. The 550 is the less common brother to the 555 Rockwood flush bolt. The 555 is, that number is synonymous with flush bolt. The 550 is different only really in the sense that this is not 1 inch wide, it's 1.25 inches wide, which is actually, while it's not very common, or at least in my experience, presently, doors that are a couple of decades old, not uncommon to see these at all. Okay. Fire rated metal doors, this is appropriate for up to 3 hour. The 550 here is being shown in the 605 finish, which is it means three things for this flush bolt. It means that it's made of solid brass, that it's polished, and that it has a clear lacquer on it. Okay, clear lacquer coat. This bolt is also, and they're sold as each. When you buy one, you're getting one. Two would be pretty common as an order multiple. 12 inch. You're going to get a rod that will yield a dimension of 12 inch from the top of the door or bottom of the door to the center of the faceplate. So the rod itself is not 12 inch, but it's fairly close. It's a little short, but that's what it'll give you. It will include a bolt head. That bolt head has that D shape to it for a specific reason that we'll go over in more in a moment. Threads in like that. You'll have a bolt head guide, and you'll see that that also has that same D profile, and that is to prevent the bolt head from unintentionally threading in or threading out once the installation is done. Will come with, of course, a strike plate. Let's put the tape measure on that strike plate. 2 1/4, about 15/16 is typically what the strikes measure. You'll mortise that into the header or into the floor or surface mounted on the floor. 6 3/4 by 1 1/4. Okay. That guide plate, which we'll mortise to the top of a wood door if you're using it in a wood door, 2 inch by 1 inch, or it's mounted to the top of a metal door with some preparation, or to the inverted bottom channel as well. Then, of course, combination wood machine thread screws and a complementary finish. Okay. Now, let's go over the extended description of this item. The faceplate, all the dimensional properties we've given, has a 3/4 inch bolt throw, and are typically used in metal doors, not in wood doors, but you can see them in wood doors. The metal door construction is appropriate for a manual flush bolt like this, meaning lever extension flush bolts where you have a threaded rod. The problem with installing these on wood doors is that it requires extra preparation that's atypical when considering new installations or new construction of doors and bolts. Okay. So what does that mean? What that means is installing this in a wood door is tricky. And because it's intended for a metal door, well, you'll have a preparation in the edge of the door. Okay, that's that 1 1/4 by 6 3/4 with the mounting tabs welded in for you to thread the screws in and tighten that down, top and bottom. You will most likely first insert the rod, thread it down all the way to that shoulder. The bolt head will go on. Okay. Then you'll take this and feed it up through the hole, through your guide or down, and then you'll get the plate in, attach it down, and your installation is done. When a metal door has been prepped, typically at the factory or at the shop or the distributor where it's coming from. A wood door requires knowledge, special tools, desire to make it installed. Now, I would typically want to have these installed in a wood door. It'd be great, especially if your door was thicker than standard. If you had a 2 1/4 inch thick door, I think a wider faceplate would make a lot of sense, just so that it balances out the thickness of the door. The key is this, though. When you're mortising, if you're going to mortise a wood door for this, you're going to have two preparations for the body at the distance from the top or bottom of the door to the center line being 12 inch. You're going to mortise the body, which is all of this material below the face, so that you can get this sunk in to the proper depth. You'll then mortise for the plate, which is the width, the height, and then the thickness. That will allow you to physically fit this into the edge of the door. Now the trick, that's easy. The trick comes in is when you need to drill from the top or bottom of the door straight for the raceway for this threaded rod. That's where the trick comes in. You'll have likely disparate densities of materials, the style and the core of the door. That bit will want to find its way down. There are clamp-on guides. There are aircraft hanger length bits, which is not a problem in that sense. But without the guide and without the long drill bit, it's not practical to drill this at all. Unless the door has been manufactured in a shop where it's been made to accommodate the bolt, meaning that when they're assembling the door by components, the door veneer, the core, the stiles, the rails, they'll prep that stile with a raceway for it. They're not going to drill it after the door is manufactured. So they'll set it up to be appropriate to receive the piece of hardware. You won't use this on fire-rated wood doors at all. However, their lever extension flush bolts are very common. So if you want to discuss how to go about mortising wood doors for these, by all means feel free to reach out. But you're going to be dealing with, without that guide, without that clamp-on guide that is manufactured, and then about an 18-inch drill bit, I don't see a way to try to freehand that. That would, you'll wish you hadn't tried to do that, is my bottom line on that. Finishes now. This bolt, of course, is available in all the common finishes, your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, oil rubbed. One thing that sets Rockwood apart is not only the willingness, but almost desire to entertain custom finishes. You need these in a antique nickel, Rockwood's your company. They will quote it and they will supply it that way. There's a link below this video to the tech sheet, and that gives you the dimensional drawings. And it's really appropriate to see it that way in a metal door. It's not drawn as a wood door, it's drawn as a metal door. And if you have any questions on those dimensions, feel free to reach out to us. There's also a link below this video to a document called Product Brochure, which will allow you to review the 550, the 555, and other variations of those two bolts, those manual extension bolts. What is not shown are the flush bolts for wood doors. Those you can find from the link below this video, where you can view not only all the Rockwood products we sell, a link to the manufacturer's website, but a link to the full product catalog. You can search for the 550. You will get in that section ultimately, and then you'll look for the flush bolts that are intended for wood doors. They'll say wood doors application, but you'll know it because they are a corner style bolt where you will mortise the edge of a door where there's no drilling for an extension rod involved at all. Those would be appropriate for wood doors. Non-rated, rated, semi-automatic, automatic flush bolts. Rockwood does all of that. So that link to the product catalog will also show you the entire trim and auxiliary line, and the name Rockwood is quite synonymous with it. If you're using Rockwood for the first time, you'll enjoy an industry-wide level of acceptance with the name, familiarity with the quality and caliber of the product. Also on that manufacturer's page, you are going to be able to see a link to the architectural door pull catalog. Now that's a 70 or 80 page catalog on door pulls only, pretty much. If you've ever walked into a bank or a restaurant or any business that has doors with 5, 6, 7, 8 foot long door pulls, that's very likely Rockwood, and that catalog will allow you to review custom door pulls from them. If you have any questions on the Rockwood 550 and a 605 finish, lever extension flush bolt, or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us.